And this is the Nobody Talks Shidduch Podcast. Your host, IJ, here with my other two wonderful, amazing, corona-free brother and sister-in, Misty and Avery. We're going to be talking about a really fun topic called taking a break. I mean, taking a break. Everyone's been there, especially now, outside circumstances, other circumstances. Taking a break is huge, right, Avery?
You got that from the Kit Kat bar? No, it's important.
Give me a break, right, Misty?
Oh,
You gotta play that song.
yes.
That was
We should
good
get that
times.
song.
I miss that Kit Kat. Why don't they have that Kit Kat commercial anymore? Like, give me a break. They don't sing it.
And I'll tell you why, because it's
Probably trademarked
full,
or something.
full of sugar and
Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah,
carbs.
yeah. It's
and,
not gluten-free.
In today's day and age, if it's not from Trader Joe's, they don't touch it.
Oh, you know it. Misty, how'd you like that intro?
The best. Not.
Thank you. It is. I know you're all jealous of me. But anyway, so we're talking about taking a break today. Lots to get to on that. We actually have a few therapists and like social workers and mental health people calling in. So you'll hear their opinions on that. We have Ellie Weinstein calling in. We have Rachael Schindler calling in. And then we have Serena, who's a local single who's going to call in as well. So I wanted to let you know that we got lots to talk about. We got, should you take a break? Benefits of taking a break. How long should the break be? Are there wrong reasons for taking a break? Like, now we're in quarantine. Like, there might really be a valid reason to take a break. My thing is that like, there's so many people listening to our podcast out there, and I'm sure it's absolutely come through their thought process. Why is my older sister taking a break? She's giving up. I think that's the mindset that really irks us. It's like, well, they're giving up. They're done with. It really is totally the outside circumstances that really hit you in this given area of taking a break. Like a very big part of Shidduchim. How long should it be? Like, especially right now with the quarantine situation, there is a lot of stuff going through my mind personally, and I know yours, of like, break or no break.
Yeah, our audience could really help us with that, with telling us when you take breaks, like what are you thinking about? What is it? What is the reason for taking a break? Is it because you just had a bad relationship? Is that a good reason to even take a break? Or should you just get back right into it? A lot of people in the firmer community will say, they've never even heard of a break. It's something that you can't do. You take a break, it's like going off the derech. So
it's like going off the derech. Yes,
in a way,
everybody needs a break.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah. So it's something that a lot of people it's a taboo subject, and
But why though? It shouldn't be. Why are people not embarrassed, but like feel bad? Like, oh my gosh. Like,
well, I think it shows your insecurity. I mean, like,
why?
To say that I can't date right now because I'm taking the LSAT, or I can't date right now because,
that's amazing.
Of course it's amazing.
You're being so real with yourself. Like, why do you need to be embarrassed about that?
So for the real people like me, you, IJ, like the real people out there who understand what humans are, they're going to say, take a break. Take your time. Get yourself together.
And don't feel bad about it. That's like
don't feel
thing.
bad.
Right.
Exactly. For non-humans, or as we like to call them, shotgun. Oh, I just said that. Nah.
Oh no.
But for some people, no, don't bleep that out. For some people who are just like heartless and don't understand and have no compassion. Look, I'm a very compassionate person. Sometimes when it comes to this, when it comes to taking a break, this is one of the things where I say, yeah, do it. Get yourself mentally ready and healthy.
Yes, mentally.
Some people young girls are starting to date at 19, 20, right off the boat. Mm-hmm. They're not ready to date. They're not ready to handle rejection. IJ and I have been through 20 years of rejection. Now we know. And we still need to take our breaks,
I don't think you ever get used to rejection. I think maybe you get you can get better at handling it, but I don't think you ever used to it. Like, it hurts anytime.
It hurts, but that's what makes you grow and makes you get closer to the right person, to the next one. Don't hang out with your negative family member. I
like that, Avery. It's like, don't just say you're taking your break.
And then
sit and do nothing and get depressed that you're not dating. Like, do something that you're actually going to be able to make your mind forget about the time. It is not going to be easy to take a break.
So true.
It's not going to be fun. It's going to be the toughest thing. You're going to be squeezed. You're going to have every yenta on Main Street to Wall Street. And you're going to have to overcome that. You're going to have to overcome that scenario. So, whatever you need to do, like if you have to play that through your mind or you don't have to, whatever you need to figure out, because just you remember that you need to protect yourself. So even saying like, don't even tell people that you're on a break. Just say you're busy. Tell them, it's none of their business. I think people get too, what significance? You don't owe them anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Why would you you're giving them something by saying you're on a break? Just say, thank you, I'm busy right now.
That's why it shouldn't just be Corona. Like I'm saying, yeah, now it's a good time, but even before Corona and after, like you should always feel comfortable to do what's right for you.
Yeah. And Misty, what do you think about reviewing someone's resume during
I feel like
during that? Like if it's during a break,
it doesn't
do you
hurt,
feel
but
comfortable with it?
To a certain extent. But I also feel like the reason why you're taking a break, if it's something like really serious, I don't think you should even like look into that whole dating world. Yeah. But if it's something more chilled, like I just want to take a break because I want to, then it doesn't hurt to look at other resumes. Or
that's a good point. I had a few resumes like on storage, like in my files back. I was like cleaning after during this whole Corona thing, and I'm like just looking at them like I don't see dating right now as a thing. I just can't put my mind to it, And even reaching out to Shotgun, I'm like, is it even right to reach out to Shotgun during this time period?
I wouldn't, but like if they reach out to you.
But they're free. Like, they're all at home with their 16
but I'm sure
kids.
People still hit them up and be like.
Well, I mean, they're probably just at home cooking.
You have to make sure you have the right acumen.
Yeah.
That's important. Make sure you're at a good state of mind to judge.
It depends who. At this point in life, like, I'm going to go with the older Shotgun. And they billed me another month.
They have billed us another month. Like we, even our landlord, $20,000 rent. Don't worry about that, guys. Corona. The Shotgun send a check.
Oh my
12 a.m. day of.
They need to get paid.
She send the invoice.
SBA loan.
But we have. It's waiting. Well, that's the pitch. That's the pitch I get.
Standing there with their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. They want it.
I never heard that before. Wow, that's great.
I think it's really tough for people who have extreme fervor who in dating. They just have such passion for it because it kind of takes over your life. I think that person would be ideal to take a break. If this is if your life is obsessing over dating, and we know guys like that, I'm sure Misty,
so not healthy.
You know girls like that.
Yeah.
My gosh, it's not healthy. Take a break, please. Take a break.
Avery, have you ever went into a break from a cold streak? Because I'm sure you have a cold streak.
Never been on a cold streak. Never did it. Never happened.
Yeah, then
never happened.
Then how are you doing the podcast? Misty, cold streak?
Never. I'm joking.
I've had a cold streak.
We've all had it.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed of telling you. Like
what do you consider a cold streak? I'm very curious.
I would say it's the number of resumes you usually get divided by 2 minus 7. Some kind of calculation. Something like that.
Well, truthfully, Corona has limited the amount. I was getting a lot of resumes before Corona. Now there's just a slow.
Everything's
just so now. Do you understand what a girl goes through right now?
Oh.
Not physically, but
it's fact. I'm not trying to be abrasive with that comment.
No, in that sense, yeah, no. It gives you a little bit of an insight of whoa, you can't, but it's out of your control. It's not something you could even deal with, So I think it's a good lesson to teach us that, when it's good, okay, you get a lot of resumes, but you still can't control it. When it's bad, you also can't control it.
Nothing's in your control, pretty much.
No.
True.
No.
Great lesson.
Misty, Misty, do you think being in a long relationship, a long-term relationship, would be apropos for someone to go into a break right after that, or is it better for them to continue dating? Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Jumping into the pool.
Jump in.
I don't know. I feel like it depends how it ended. If it ends really bad.
Oh, so give us both circumstances.
If it's bad, I feel like take a break because then you're gonna be constantly thinking about that person and comparing them. They weren't like this. So it's not fair to who you're dating. It's not fair to yourself. I definitely think take a break. If it didn't end badly, I don't know, you can jump in if you want.
in
But
writing.
when we're going to do our episode called "Going After All the Shadchanim Who Wronged Us,"
Oh,
I'm waiting for that. I can't
Can
wait
we
for
do
one.
that?
Yes, you
how do you
Sprinter
get back?
Sprintenstein, and you
How do you get
from me
back?
Frumenstein.
Edelstein.
Oh my gosh.
Edelberg. Oh,
And then we'll pair that episode with the going after our exes. That's gonna be.
Ooh.
what has happened to you two? Like when you're on that break and you go to a wedding and you're at your friend's wedding, and then some SOB. This doesn't even have to be like a shadchan. It's just like your cousin, sister's friend's brother's wife approaches you, and you're like, "Oh my God, you're beautiful."
Yes.
Misty, you're gorgeous.
Thank you.
I have 7 boys for you right now, but she'll get to you. You're
No.
I'm telling you right now, you're not strong enough. I'm not strong enough. I don't think any single is strong
You're
enough.
me now. Whoa.
No, I'm presenting like a real situation
Okay,
that
she has
has
7
happened
guys.
and can happen and always happens.
Wait, she has 7
No
guys.
one
and
is
walk.
strong enough for that.
That's not true.
What could you do?
Walk away.
How would you just walk away?
Say something like, "Oh, someone's calling me," or be like, "Oh, who?" Pretend like you care, and then
not
walk
bad.
away.
Oh, that's good. I like that psychology of it. Okay, I take what I said back.
See?
That's it. That's it.
And this was a great episode.
This was.
Speaking of taking a break, let's take a break from this episode.
Yes.
Yes, let's get to our callers. We are going to introduce 2 callers coming in, and you'll know who they are when we return. Yeah, and that was some really good points everyone's made. So I wanted to Misty, our next caller is on. Okay, hey,
Yes.
lead it off. Tell them about Dr. Schindler.
We're super psyched to have Dr. Schindler on. Dr. Schindler is a acclaimed psychologist, noted lecturer, author, certified nutrition counselor, certified personal trainer, and group fitness instructor. You literally do everything. I'm amazed. We're so excited to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
today's topic is all about taking a break. We want to hear your perspective on it. Like, should you take a break, especially now during like the coronavirus?
And then in general as well.
Yeah.
So when, Misty told me about this taking a break topic, the first thing I said to myself is, I don't know if taking a break's the right idea, but I think taking
Right.
a break for traditional dating is really the right way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it,
Okay.
we didn't like dating before this pandemic, right?
Facts.
Not all of us.
No. So I said, why don't we use this as an opportunity? As much as we look at this as like, oh my God, I can't see anything or see anyone or go anywhere or
Yeah.
do anything. Why don't we just take it and look at it from a different perspective?
I like that.
Yeah. You know what? And it's a great opportunity to do so because you don't have to worry about a lot of things that you worried about before. Where you're going to go, what you're going to do.
Exactly. We were saying that
what
before.
you're yeah, exactly. So what I was thinking is to give some pointers about using this time wisely because really the keys to success in marriage are looking in at the inside of the person. And I kind of broke it down and kind of also will give you some steps as to how to achieve that. But you have this opportunity to explore the person and see, is this going to work for you, let's say, beyond the initial first date?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like shortening a big paper. It's easy to write a huge paper when it's, 10,000 words and write whatever you want. It's much harder to write 1,000-word paper and get in everything that you want.
Right.
So
you're saying, you're saying now it's easier
condensing
because it's more
right.
simpler.
It's easier. It's much more simpler. So I'm going to get into what we need to know about the keys to marriage. My first one was simplicity.
Yeah.
Like in marriage, simplicity isn't simplistic. Getting back to basics sometimes is usually more difficult than, anything else. And when you're living with someone, you got to get back to basics. It's not all the fluff and an hour to prepare and 3 hours to curl your hair and your makeup and your lashes and all this kind of stuff. You're getting back to basics. You're waking up. This is what she looks like in the morning. This is what he looks like, whatever the case may be.
Hi, Jay just made a scared face.
Yikes.
Oh, it is.
But-
It is scary.
Right. You don't have a 3-course dinner and, you don't have 7 hours to go out on a date. The kids are crying. You have 30 seconds. You didn't cook dinner. You're ordering takeout. Like
Right.
life becomes very, very different when you're not dating. And now is the key to explore the simplicity when you're not worried about how much does he make, you're not focusing on how they dress,
he has no
or
job.
what dishes their grandmother serve on
We're only
Shabbos.
focused on whether they're COVID-19 positive or negative.
That's true. Yeah. But no,
So
that's so
it's
true.
a good time. It's a good time to focus on this on the simplistic, more simplistic
Yeah. I like that.
idea.
Because there's no fluff. There's no like.
Right, there's no fluff. Can you live with this person? Do you like this person? You don't have to worry about it. Are the shoes designer? Whatever.
Right.
Like, all this stuff falls away. We don't have to make a 7,000 person wedding, and
Wow.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right,
Cool.
you're like all these things that like break engagements. All the parents don't agree to this band. And,
I know.
Things that used to happen. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
I
So
think
now
that's
is a good time.
I like that. I like that mindset, and we actually discussed it before. I think last episode we mentioned like let's not go back to where we were. Like let's just make a
my
new
gosh,
future.
You are a great idea. You're introing me to my second thing about
Thank you.
the success.
You're great.
My pleasure. Now, that another thing that we need in marriage, and from my clinical experience, I know this: flexibility.
Right.
We need flexibility.
Yeah.
You can't be rigid and say this is it. It's this way or that. You can't work like that. It doesn't work in marriage. Not for dinner. Not for raising the kids. Not for anything. There has to be flexibility of mind and flexibility in life. You know what? The pizza burnt. Now what? You're going to start blaming somebody, or you're going to go get another one?
Go get another
what
one.
are you going to do?
Mhm.
Right. Are you going to get another one, or are you going to, what are you going to do? Now what? We're in this situation with COVID.
Right.
We didn't know this was going to happen. And we're all sitting here looking at each other. Now what? You've got to move on. You've got to have that.
Well, so I like that point, Dr. Schindler. I would relate it. I would relate it to like a more practical circumstance that us as singles are doing, and let me know if obviously I'm pushing too hard. But so I like that flexibility point. Let's say Avery, me, we're dating a girl, and like all of a sudden like a certain topic comes up. That's very serious. I don't know. What can we think of something that comes
Weddings.
up?
So you
wedding,
bring up
yeah.
what type of wedding
Let's
you
say,
want.
like whatever. Let's
Yes.
say exactly that. Like what type of wedding? Like how do people actually be flexible like in that circumstance? And also, like what are some things we can do to like, work out the flexibility, kind of like get better at it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a big thing.
That's
Because
a
like
really
we know a
good
lot of
example.
people,
Yeah. For example, like they
Really
want
loaded
to,
question.
they still want to make a over 50 to 100 person wedding, even during this time, and you're
Right.
comfortable just doing a 10 person quick,
In the
backyard, being safe. That's some sort of situation that could
Yeah.
push you guys
Well,
apart.
you know what I like to do? There's always a reason behind the reason. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah. That's
why
true.
do you want a 50-person wedding versus a 10-person wedding? Sometimes it's not about that.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not about, oh, well, I want to show up to my friends, or sometimes it's like, I'll be embarrassed if I don't, or I can't afford more, or I really want some people there, and I need to have these people. Once you kind of realize what the other person really needs, I think it's so much easier to figure out a way to compromise and to be more flexible about it. Because if you're like,
like that.
I don't care if it's 10 persons, and she's like, well, I need 50. Why do you need 50? Well, they're really my close friends. They've been with me forever, and we really need to arrange this. You'll be like, all right. Like,
So
the
ask why,
flexibility
right?
will
The
start-
reason.
Right. And then you'll start going, again, using that flexibility. Okay, so how do we accomplish this? How do we make this happen? Because it's clearly important to her. And that's what we need to do now. I mean, I don't want to get all Kabbalistic, but now we're in this, this week of trying to be more compassionate. And what does that mean? You're going outside yourself and you're looking at, is this a valid reason? Even if it's not, sometimes people think that everything that they're saying is a valid reason and they need validation, but sometimes their reasons are invalid. And I think the first step is to decide, oh, you really do have a valid reason. Let's try to make that happen. If he just says, well, because I'm just going to show off to my friends, or I just don't want to tell you, and, throw a fit, he's kind of like, maybe the reasons are invalid. I want to give you validation, but I can't do that. And I want to work to be flexible with you, but it's going to be hard for me because I really don't have that compassion. I don't have that, insight in me to go above what I think is good, unless I have a better understanding of you. And that's good for communication. It's good to understand each other. And I'm not saying all times that you will. Sometimes you're going to be like, I just do, and that's going to be okay. But for something like a wedding where it's easily, more logistic, or you can talk about it and you can explain, or let's take an actual physical count. Sometimes, it's not 50 people. It's really 27 and you thought it was 50.
So communication's key, pretty much.
Right.
Well,
right. So
how do we communicate? How?
And that's on a separate note. Do you think, quick question though, do you think that, especially during this time where things are so hypersensitive and everyone's stressed, you think a little disagreement might actually be a good thing? Like you could see them during this time of stress, and you don't always want to agree, especially heading into a marriage. That's what I've been told. That's a little disagreement, a little pushback might even be good for the marriage. So maybe during this time, find some things.
Boundaries are definitely something that are important, especially when you have like two types that are like giver, and the other person is more of a receiver or anything like that. So. In a nice way, you know what I'm saying. I didn't want to say taker, so
right. Taker.
So what I wanted to say, like it's hard to juggle sometimes. Right. It's hard to juggle it, but it's good to establish some sort of boundary and then go from there. So now is as good a time as any. After the idea of flexibility, I was going into bonding. So that leads me into my next thing. Thanks, Avery. That you want to establish that some boundaries, because you need to bond with that person, and when you have that understanding of each other and where your boundaries are, you're much more able to bond, and that leads us into number 4, which is appreciation. Once you have that bonding, and you know that you can work things out with that person, and you could be really simple, and have a simple Shabbos meal and enjoy it because you're really with that company of the other person. I know people right now they're itching because. They feel like they have, no one to talk to. But what I'm saying here is,
that's true.
You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be by yourself. Just because you're socially distant doesn't mean that you have to be emotionally distant.
Ooh, that's a good quote.
Let's
write that down. Yeah. I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. But it's hard though. It's hard to
It is. But you know what? You could get the hard work done, and then you could do the fluff after. Okay, going out and having fun after you know each other and like each other, that's the easy part. Let's cut the essay down to 100 words first, and then figure out what we need. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
Now it's perfect time to do the work and the pruning, and without all the stress of it, without all the hype, and without all the stress or pressure, expectations, which everyone's trying to live on, and we don't have that anymore. There is no expectations. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's in the same boat. We're all equal in this, this thing, and it's perfect time to use in order to get to the experience of finding your real soulmate.
That you could just be now's the time you just be be.
Well, I would be content, Dr. Schindler, as a guy, as someone who enjoys chivalry. I love that part of dating where we would go to restaurants and I would be able to show them, hey, this is what I can do. This is who I am. And we were actually discussing this a little bit with Miss D, is that we were having a little bit of a machlokas because Miss D was saying that, the Zoom dating, you can go on the Zoom, and I was like, well, from a guy's perspective, it's a lot more tough because we're not the best at communicating on the phone, sending voice notes. What's something we can do about that?
Perfect. That was my segue. I'm like, okay, so what do we do now?
Right.
And I know from my clinical experience, guys need a distraction. I can't sit there and talk for 3 hours. How am I going to do this?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So what's the balance?
I told this girl right here before. I was like, Miss D, I can't voice note a girl that you're going to set me up with. I can't do it. I can.
You have only so many siblings we could discuss.
So Dr. Schindler, what is the balance then that for the guy and the girl?
Okay, so I'm going to break it down a little bit, just to make it easier. If you haven't dated before and you want to start dating, there should be some rules. Let's do the phone thing. Let's say I wouldn't start out with a FaceTime. I'd start out with a call twice a week. Limit the time to 45 minutes.
Right.
Really, the truth of the matter is the high comes from wanting the thing. So if you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm going to speak to her. Ooh, exciting. You want to not just give it a limitless thing, because then the anticipation wanes. You want to give it a little bit of excitement.
Right.
So, and my experience, I prepare like some topics or even some psychological things to ask, like, what's your favorite color and why? What's your favorite car? What's your favorite animal? But each of them tell you specific things. Color is how you project yourself. And when they answer it, they'll be like, oh, I like red because it's fiery. Or like, I like red because it's, very bright.
I do.
Or I
like
yellow
because it's
very, very, very soothing. Okay.
Good one.
Or like your animal is
funny.
like, how do you feel about yourself? Your car is what you want to project to the world. Like sometimes answers are very interesting. I like that. These like little things that are just interesting, and you get to find out, about the person. And I could get into more depth with that, but I want to get into more of what you wanted to discuss. Let's say you know this girl already, and you're like thinking to yourself, like, I don't want to sit there Zoom dating for like 3 hours. Like, what is this?
Right.
So what I think is, what I've seen, what I've also seen people in my experience do is virtually attend events in a different way. Like check Uber Eats or something and see what you both can order, how you both can order it, and let's eat a meal together. On Zoom, or if she wants to make a babka, like how do you make the best?
Avery
babka?
and I do that all the time.
Research it for her, research it for her, and show her what to do, and see if she gets the ingredients.
I like that. That's sweet.
Yeah,
cool. Good ideas.
As long as she pays the tip.
I want to hear how it goes.
Yeah,
this kind of stuff is what nourishes your soul. I actually advised someone to, they were both interested. They found out they were both interested in a certain topic and said, why don't you read a book about this particular topic? They were interested in a particular writer, and then talk about it afterwards. It led to tremendous personal jokes and hours of discussions.
Was this during Corona or just?
Yeah, during Corona. Corona. Also, where you would like to visit together and why. And I know some people who actually took virtual trips together there and be like, oh, what'd you see here in this painting, or whatever the case may be. Or, if they're both interested in sculpting, they both bought sculpting stuff and sat there and they did it.
Oh, wow.
I've heard, Dr. Schindler, I've heard a lot of friends of mine who are dating, a few of them. They said they've tried watching a movie. Is that something like people should do?
Yeah,
could do?
What? I know it sounds. I know it sounds like maybe a little lame or whatever, but the truth of the matter is, you just want to feel the other person is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shared experiences.
It doesn't really matter if they're physically there. Sometimes when a guy is overseas in the army and he knows his girl's sitting at home, she's there. He doesn't feel that alone. You don't want to feel alone. And one of the other things that I found also worked nicely, and I guess it dates me a little bit because that's what we used to do in our day. We'd write a letter. And I can't tell you how beautiful it is to whip out that letter and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you just read it 100 times over and you can't imagine.
That's so old school. I love it.
It's really old school, but it's so raw. Isn't it nice?
Yes.
It's
but how do you convince, I think Avery could help me out with this, scenario. How could you convince, I like that letter thing. Cause aside from my pranksterness, I'm deep inside, but how do you convince one of these girls, you could just write them a letter? I mean, think of one of these makeup artists from this and this town, or what?
No, I would write I would convince someone to date them. I would say date me because or I would start out there. I would write a whole thing and
like a,
what girl wouldn't want that?
Secret admirer type. Interesting.
Yeah.
Love
and
it.
who would you call once you are dating? A quick question, Dr. Schindler. Who would you put the impetus, the onus on to start
once you are dating? Okay, so if you didn't start dating, usually I give it the guy gets to choose 2 topics or 2 things or whatever it is, or I give it a few times and then we do FaceTimes after a few times of just talking on the phone.
Okay.
But it should not always be on the guy. And I think the guy after the second time should really ask the girl, what would you like? And maybe you can, put some of yourself forward and help us out here.
Right. Something that bothers a lot of guys like me, this really, really grinds my gears, is when they have no opinion. They're
that's
young.
annoying.
They just came back from seminary and they just have no opinion. Oh, I don't want to. Whatever you say, and it just
that's
really
annoying.
is frustrating because have an opinion, show yourself, get yourself out.
It's what you're really right, and it's really hard at times. But I feel like if you made a connection a little bit and you found 2 topics, you'll be like, I would really appreciate it. I don't mind doing it at all.
Right.
You know, how about we look at things together and we try to do it together? Because I like to see what you would like as well. Because I really want to get to know you.
Oh, I like that.
Just
I
say
like
it to
that.
her like
Is
that.
there anything you could do? Because I find myself in those scenarios a lot. Like, I have really strong beliefs, let's say politics-wise, and I want to say it on that first or second date, but I can't. So I have to kind of play cool and stuff. I mean, is that a good strategy to have? Because I mean, that's probably how the girl's thinking. Like, she might not want to really say something like that can take her out of the lineup.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And it's very subjective. It depends on the maturity level and if somebody can actually hear the other sides of things. But in my experience, no, true. You know, unfortunately, it boils down to a lot of that. But in my experience, you know, usually I would pepper it like, how would you feel if? And I'd say it.
Ooh, how would you feel? Right. I think you're right. I'm definitely how it's said. I mean,
this way that kind of, I'm sorry?
Yeah, definitely how it's said is definitely a big factor. I mean, and it's a shame because a lot of those girls, you know, I think they regret not saying their real feelings, what their real thoughts are. And then they take a drastic turn when they're like 25, right? Really drastic. And I Miss D knows, I don't have a problem dating an older girl, but I can imagine so many guys out there really going through that, like, whoa, what's like? It's a really good point you brought. Like you pointed out. I think that could be really, really big in that area.
I totally feel that it's important for you to be able to say what you feel, but sometimes in the beginning you just want to couch it a little bit nicer. And I want you to say it in real time. Like I'm a very no holds barred, and I think that makes the best thing in a relationship. You know, you should be able to accept my opinion. You don't have to agree with it,
right?
And you don't have to, judge me for it.
Right. So there's no acrimony and.
No, and you don't have to like put it in the back seat because then you wind up, you know, burying everything. And then one day, like you said, it just popped out and you're like, where did that come from? So you want to be like, you know, how would you feel if, or what do you say to F? And you'd be like, you know, how would you feel if I, whatever. You don't have to say I in the beginning. You can wait, you know, in your relationship, but kind of throw it out there. And, you know,
that's a good point.
As the relationship progresses, you know, people are going to be a little bit more caring and understanding and, again, compassionate about the other person's feelings and would want to hear it in real time, which is the best thing and the healthiest for the both of you.
Wow. I think Avery has a last question for you, Doc.
Yeah, so that's a cool thing, Dr. Schindler. So just a final thought of everything that's going on, maybe a little bit of summation of what's going on with this corona, and how do you think that us in the Shidduch world should, you know, move ahead going forward, you know, from your perspective? Obviously you have years of experience more than we do. So what do you think are some takeaways and things that we could think about moving forward?
I think that it's important not to have any more preconceived notions of where you are and where you're going to go right now. I think that since, you know, corona kind of took away all expectations of anything, like when we might be able to go outside, you should walk into it with a clear head. And if you have shadchanim, or if you have people who, you know, or people I know that go online, and there's, you know, very good shadchanim in there too, and or if you know somebody, or even if friends want to introduce you, I think that be open to it. Mm-hmm. Be open to it. You know what? Sometimes good things can happen and unexpected. Not sometimes, all the time, because it's all subjective as to what you think is good. So just don't be close to it. It could be a bracha for you, and see how you feel.
I love that.
Wow. Where can our audience find you? Where on social media, website, and we, you know, anywhere they can get you?
Sure. I have the Light and Low Foods, kosherchefzone.com. I do like a plant-based diet, and I also do like a kosher diet delivery. And Rachael Schindler at Gmail, Rachael, like Rachael Schindler, Schindler at Gmail.
Okay, we're gonna have to have you back on for our dieting episode. But
yes. Avery and I are very into health, like physical health.
You put yourself in my jurisdiction.
Okay, fine. So I go light sometimes on the cheaper. Okay, anyway. Thank you so much, Dr. Schindler, for being with us.
So much.
You've really helped our audience. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Hey listeners, it's Miss D from the Nobody Talk Shidduchim podcast, and I understand that between work, school, and your Shidduch responsibilities, it can be really difficult to find time to read. Well, now, thanks to Audible, you can listen to your favorite books and authors anywhere at any time. I love that I've been able to catch up on the latest audiobooks with Audible, including some audiobooks by my favorite authors, John Grisham, Colleen Hoover, and Rachael Hollis. Whether I'm in my car, at the gym, shopping for groceries, or even during bad dates, I love how convenient Audible is. Here's how you sign up for the Audible. Just click on the link in our show notes and you get a free 30-day trial along with 3 free audiobooks. Remember, the average person reads 12 books a year, so don't be average.
Okay, guys, as promised, we have Ellie Weinstein here today as a special guest calling in because of COVID-19. Otherwise, we would have had him here. And Misty's going to tell us a little bit more about our first guest today.
Yeah, so Ellie Weinstein is a social work therapist who has worked in a psych hospital, intense outpatient clinic, and currently work in a community clinic in Queens. He created Elevation to fill a need to help those in struggling and add extra inspiration and motivation into everyday life. He runs events, seminars, and individual coaching on topics from mental health, awareness, public speaking coaching, relationship coaching, and confidence boosting. So we're super excited to have you on today.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
So Ellie, you know, our podcast obviously about Shidduchim, we've talked about a lot of topics, including, you know, what should you look for in a Shidduch, what type of person should you go out for, what to do when you get rejected, and things like that. And today we kind of wanted to discuss a little bit about mentally when it's time to take a break from Shidduch dating and from dating in general, especially with what's going on with the quarantine break. And we just wanted to know, like, you know, since you're a therapist, you can give us a little bit more insight of how to deal with taking a break, what to look for, and Yeah,
it's a great question. I think it's really apropos to the times that we're dealing with. And I think one of the biggest signs of needing to take a break is that feeling of, I've had enough. This is too tiring. This is too overwhelming. This is too stressful. I'm sure every one of us, you know, whoever's listening, who's in the room, who's in your own homes, is when you're dealing with something and it gets to the point where you're questioning every little bit and you are just not happy, right? Deep down, you just feel this something's wrong. So to step back and take a break from it is not a failure. It's not a problem. It's you reassessing and giving yourself time to recover and be better for the next round.
So what are some good tools for people to use, right? So one thing I do is I do sports. I'm close with one of my Rebbeim. I have people check in on me. What are some other things people can do to set themselves up to realize those things? Because they're always subconsciously in the back of their mind and they don't realize it, especially in this circumstance related to taking a break.
You made a great point in the fact that we all have to find our individual little things that help us kind of take a perspective and a step back from our normal routine. Like you said, things pop up, life, dating, work, family, it kind of becomes this robotic flow of life. And I think when you have things like working out, going to a therapist, or hanging out with friends, or, you know, journaling, art, music, like you said, playing sports, or having a connection with a mentor, it's very important to find what you know. And the only person that knows what can help you is you. So when you find those really helpful things that have worked for you forever, have worked for you for years, it kind of do them as much as you can to kind of separate and make a little break for yourself to gain perspective that you might need.
Great point. How would you say that somebody should balance their life, meaning they have a lot of time that they spend on work or projects, or they spend a lot of time in their family, and how would they balance dating with that? Because, you know, there's so much rejection that comes with dating, so much sadness, so much like peer pressure, people getting engaged. What do you think the optimal time, you know, time value ratio, I would call it maybe, is to spend on dating?
That is a really wonderful question. I love that question. That's so great. I think one of the things that, you know, I've had friends of mine who go all in and they are dating like 30 people, you know, in a matter of a month. I think it depends on your religious background and where you're at and what your family's expectations are and how on top the shadchan might be, or the friends that you're connecting with that are constantly giving you more and more ideas. And I think there are some people who have huge droughts where they literally date one person over the course of 6 months and they don't get any other suggestions. And the balance is, this is the same thing when it comes to your regular life as well, even though dating is part of regular life. You need to find what works for you in your balance. When I was dating back in the day, one of the things that I noticed for myself when I was dating too much is when I literally lost touch with the people like my friends. When I was just totally distracted by so much, when I was in school, doing this, doing that, working for this organization, involved in this, doing homework and taking care of myself and dating. And at some point, one friend texted me, he's like, dude, where you been? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 months and I haven't spoken to you, and it was my wake up call to be like, come on, dating is so important because you want to have that person, whatever that means. You want to find that person that's going to be your rock, your support, that love in your life. And that is extremely important and so powerful for your future. But at the same time, you and everything else in your life matters just as much because that's just as important as well. So when you're feeling this like the classic thing about the you can't pour water from a smaller cup, you need to have your water full, or whatever that weird thing people put out there, right? It's like you have to make sure your cup is full to pour and share with others. But if your cup is running on empty, then if your car is running on no gas, your dating world's going to fail, your personal life's going to fail, your family life's going to fail, everything's going to run on nothing.
Right, it's all
that's not going to help at all.
You got to have that tank full. Exactly.
You're saying taking care of yourself first is a good right. So how do you find a balance between doing that? What's like the best way to find that balance? Or I'm sure there's a couple ways.
Yeah, there are many ways, and something that I've been pushing a lot with my clients that I work with at the clinic, and something I've been on a few Corona Live things that have been going around now, is this idea of like a coping or like a card, like a 3x5 card that you have, like this little secret formula for yourself. Like, I'll be honest, I love to read and drink tea. I don't know why. It's something I feel like
you're an old soul.
Maybe I'm British.
You're an old soul like me, Ellie.
I love it.
I prefer sponge cake and tea to Dunkin' D's anyway.
100%. Sorry, Dunkin' D's. But like that for me is what I know after a long day will give me that break from life to give me balance.
Right.
That my favorite cup of tea with a book that I'm really into right now, whether it's sitting on my patio or plugging in my favorite music that I'm into right now. Those kind of things for me work. For you, that might be your like worst nightmare. Like classical music, tea, and like a book. Like, get me out of here. You never know. Right?
It's like this hyped up, It's like you got to go all out. Metal. You got to go all out.
So saying find your outlet, like your personal outlet.
Exactly.
Right.
For some people, it's taking a really nice, relaxing hot shower or a bath.
Right.
I personally,
that's me.
6'2". I'm 6'2", over 200 pounds. I can't fit in a bathtub, so that's kind of limiting me.
I'm up there as well, and it's I have
goal.
a big bathtub.
That's my goal. When I make it big in life, I'm going to have a massive bathtub so I can have
Shaquille O'Neal is a massive bathtub. I also President William Howard Taft back in the 1900s. Anyway, Ellie, I wanted to tell you.
How do you know that?
I know exactly.
Hey, poli-sci minor, baby. I wanted to ask you, Ellie, because here's probably one of the biggest challenges singles have. I know these two here have with taking a break, because you literally spend days and days focusing and priming yourself ready to take that break, and you take it, and you're on that break and you're calm, things are going well, you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden bump into some yenta and she's like, oh, I have the perfect person for you. And there's so many circumstances and situations that can just go from there. But how do you deal with that innuendo? How do you deal with these people who they catch you off guard? And it's like,
always. What
do you say? What do you do?
That's the biggest thing about human nature is like one of the things that I know that I struggle with, on social media is the idea of comparison, right? So of course, I personally feel that, your example always comes up. I felt like when I was dating, whenever I took a break or I was dating someone always had another idea.
Yes.
And when I was looking for some reason, no one had any ideas.
Right.
And it was this like give and take of, are you kidding me? I want a break right now. I'm trying to take care of myself, and you're going to throw these things in my face. And of course, you're looking on social media and seeing all the guys or the girls that you might be interested in, and or people are getting engaged and getting married, and you're like, I'm supposed to be on my break, you know, like, and you start freaking out and you start cracking and giving in. And it's about being strong because, like I said earlier, it's about making sure you're taking care of yourself, because dating consistently and the idea of rejection constantly is really tiring and can be really detrimental for your mental health. I have a client of mine who's a model, and she, we talk about this all the time, with this idea, her job is literally about acceptance and rejection of you and what you look like.
Oh, wow.
And I always, in my mind, when we work together, I think about dating in the Jewish world. Like, you get one resume and the person is this size, or, which I think is just ridiculous. That's another time. Or you look at, or this person suggests this person, and by the picture on your Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media outlet, sorry, they don't look good enough.
Yeah.
And it's
Avery's
constant
profile
rejection.
Picture.
Exactly. Constant rejection. And I did that myself when I was dating. Right?
It is. You
see, Ellie, you bring up a good point.
Yeah.
You bring up some good points and things I wanted to talk about just in general that lead to another aspect of dating is the comparison. You know, like, we start dating at 18, 19, 20. We go to certain yeshivas. The Jewish frum world lives within a lot of comparison. Right. Just in, you know, generally, sadly, you know, people are judging what yeshiva you go to, how do you wear a hat, comparing you to this one, that one. Is there a way to get away from that all in terms of dating? You know, the whole resume system is all based off of comparison.
Right.
It's one of the biggest challenges, in my opinion, you know, of the entire frum community is just comparing things like that.
It's so bad. It's so rampant. And I think one of the things that I have a lot of buddies of mine when we were in college together, and they would keep lists of girls that they were suggested. And I thought, and I told them once, it was like 2 or 3 guys that I was buddies with. And I said, what are you doing? They're like, oh, but I got so many suggestions. I'm like, don't you know that's going to kill you? Like, why? I'm like, because you're dating a girl and you have 7 more on your list. So of course you're going to wonder, what are those other girls like? Because the girl that you're with now, you know her, but you don't know the other ones. That mystery is so exciting. So you're not going to enjoy what you're dating right now. So I think comparison is so bad. And your points are so great when it comes to, like, what yeshiva you went to. Right. Like, I know guys that I went to Shalavim. I'm very different now than I was when I was 18, 19 coming out of Shalavim. You know?
Right, 100%.
Like, I wear jeans. Like, oh my goodness, like, how could I? Right? A Shalavim boy wearing jeans? But, like, you know, like,
I think that's my problem. I think that's my problem.
It's so bad. I know. That's why it's hard. It's hard. You got to have that decision. Am I going to wear jeans now, or am I not going to wear jeans now? What is that going to say about me? Right. You know, which is also ridiculous, but whatever.
It is pretty ridiculous. Ellie, what do you think about, so let's say, you know, it's been 4 weeks. You're on this break. You're feeling good. You know, you've controlled, and it's not easy to keep on saying no, you know, or at least let people understand that you're on a break. You know, it's been 4 weeks. You're feeling better. How do you know at that point you're ready to go back?
Oh, so when it comes to you feeling that you are confident in what the purpose of the break was, whether it's you taking time to kind of get your mind straight, whether it's you just getting your balance of your lifestyle, or if it's just you saying, you know what, I want to focus on one thing right now, or, you know, I've had so much rejection, this is too much for me. But when you come to this, like, clarity, I remember one of my friends told me the biggest bracha that anyone can get for dating is clarity.
Yeah.
Whether it's yourself or for how you're dealing in a dating process. So when you have that clarity and you think, you know what, like you said, the month, I did great. I worked hard. I said no. I took the time I needed. It's also about making sure that first step is correct and right, where you reach out to the right person and you connect to the right person that might set you up with someone who is going to be maybe a positive, not that it might be the right person, but a positive experience that might not be, you know, traumatic or detrimental to make you go back into that hole and hide again. It's hard, you know, that, and I've been on those breaks before, and they're torturous sometimes.
They are, yeah. But why do you think people look at taking breaks as such a bad thing? Like, sometimes you get such a bad
I think they
reaction.
need to be on.
Right.
Like, oh, you're on a break. First of all, I've gotten reactions of, oh, you're probably lying and dating someone.
Oh my gosh.
And then I've gotten the opposite of like, what's wrong with you?
Or like you're
like,
lazy.
why are you taking a break?
Yeah, like what's wrong with you, right?
Right. It's the conscientious people who are looking down at you. And
what line can we give our audience? Because a lot of our listeners are our callers, as I call them, our listeners are gonna think, I like this. I think I want to take a break. What line can you give them just to be prepared? Like when someone says,
right.
What line? What can they say? Should they say, I'm on a break night right now. Leave me alone, you
be honest
SOB.
or lie?
Yeah, be honest, lie. Yeah, what can you tell them? What can they tell?
I would totally be honest and say, dating is really tough, and it's had I think it's really important that I take some time for myself. And thank you so much for your suggestion. I really appreciate it.
Right.
Let me get back to you and make sure your break is a time. So if you want to give yourself 3 weeks, say 3 weeks to the person. If you're going to give yourself a month, say a month. If you're going to, make sure you have that time set up, and then at least it gives that person hope that you're not just blowing them off and saying like, you're a terrible person, stop suggesting me people.
Right.
But it also gives you a timeline in your head, a countdown, so to speak, that you can kind of say to someone, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm not trying to blow you off right now. I'm just giving myself a month just to reassess, reconvene, reevaluate. And I'm going to come back in a month, and please put it in your calendar, or I'll reach out to you in a month. I always said to people, if you can't find like 10 to 15 minutes of a break a day for yourself, something's really wrong.
I like that. I like that. So yeah, don't just take a break in dating. Take a break for yourself every day. I love it.
Wow. So Ellie, I mean, we discussed a lot with you, and we certainly appreciate you coming on. Especially some things that we're all gonna commit ourselves to is finding some outlet to take care of after. While we're dating, something to get our mind off of it, and how long to take a break, and things like that. And we just wanted to know what your final takeaway, maybe for the Shidduch world.
Make sure to love yourself, and don't be so hard on yourself, because, and I do truly believe this, even though I hated this saying when I was dating, there is someone out there. It is about making sure that you are working the best that you can on yourself to love who you are. And when you love yourself and you work the best that you can, finding someone will come. It's about being strong and holding on to what you believe in and to not give up. So just take a deep breath, and there is a future of happiness, and it just might take a little more time. There might be a lot of heartache and pain and suffering, but there is happiness out there.
It
will be okay.
Powerful words. And where could our listeners find you? On any social media, anything to, if they wanted to seek your help, where could they find you?
Sure. So my website is elevation.org. Com was taken, sorry. And and my Instagram is elevation_therapist. Seriously, I say this with my fullest heart. If anyone ever needs to just ask questions about dating, reach out and talk to someone. I am very approachable. I promise you I'll answer you honestly, bluntly, with love and care. I am not someone who beats around the bush, and I will always do my best to help you when I can. Dating is really hard, and it sucks a lot of the times, but there is beauty in it as well. And, there's a lot of positives to it.
Very cool.
Awesome.
I love
Wow.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for being here. And, we hope everyone's enjoyed Ellie's words.
Yeah.
So guys, I hope you love this first part of the Taking a Break episode. See you in part 2 of this 2-part episode.
The LMNO Broadcast Network.